How to cast on yarn to start knitting. Hi guys, I'm Kristen and welcome to Studio Knit. Okay, you have created your slip knot. Now it's time to place knitting stitches onto a knitting needle. Just going to let you know up front that this can be a little challenging. So I'm going to go really slowly in this video for two reasons. Because it is something completely new to you and I want to help you out as best I can. Secondly, I want your hands to be on your knitting needles and on your yarn and your eyes to be on the video. And I want to help you not have to hit pause, which I know is like the wonderful thing about knitting videos. But if I can at all just remove that part of the equation of learning so that we together are going to be casting on very slowly onto your knitting needle. Okay, I'm really excited. You guys are going to be able to do this. Let's do this together. Here we go. To begin, you will want to first create that slip knot from yesterday and place your needle inside the loop. Today's cast on method that we're using is called the long tail cast on. I suggest watching this part first and then we can do it together. So the yarn on the right, we're holding in our left hand with our two fingers, our index and our middle finger right there. The other strand of yarn, we're going to hold it with our other two fingers, our ring finger and our pinky. So this is how we are going to hold the tension of our yarn, and then we take our thumb around to the bottom, and this is the technique for holding your yarn in order to cast it on. And then with your right hand, you'll take your index finger and you'll place it right onto that first stitch to sort of help keep it in place as you're casting on. So let's do it together. Holding your knitting needle in your right hand, you're going to take your left hand and the yarn on the right side, hold it between your two fingers. Then take your other two fingers and hold the other yarn tail down next to your palm. You'll then scoop your thumb underneath that yarn and hold it upward. And lastly, with your right hand, take your index finger and just hold it on to the stitch, and that is going to help keep it in place while we're casting on. Okay, so once you have your yarn in your hands in this configuration, you are ready to continue on. And if this knitting series has been helpful to you, please like it up. It really helps me out. I encourage you to also watch this before you give it a try yourself. So the knitting needle is going to go to the outside of the left and go under. We're then going to take our knitting needle all the way over to the outside of the right strand of yarn and also go behind it and pick up that yarn. And that loop right there, we're going to bring it right in between our thumb loop. And that is our next stitch. Everything sort of falls free and we lightly pull those two strands of yarn, and that is casting on. Okay, let's rewind and we'll do it together. Your knitting needle is going to the outside of the left, picking up that yarn and going right through, and then it's going to travel over to the right side, to the outside of the right yarn. And it's going to pick up that yarn as well underneath, and then that bit of yarn is going to come through your thumb loop, and then with your left hand you can let all of that go and lightly cinch up your two strands of yarn, and there you have cast on your knitting stitch. And then we just keep on going. Again, you're going to, on your right hand, that finger sort of holds those stitches in place. And if you need to sort of get your left hand resituated right there, let's do this again. And let's do it together. So with our knitting needle, we're going to the outside of the left of our knitting yarn. And we're going to pick up that strand of yarn with our knitting needle, go behind it, and we're carrying that yarn all the way over to the yarn on the right, also going around to the outside, bringing our knitting needle behind it, and then we're carrying that yarn up through the loop that we have our thumb holding, and we're going to bring it up. Our left hand lets everything go, and then we pull our yarn so that it's another nice little stitch. And here we have 3 stitches of knitting. Let's do our 4th stitch maybe a little bit faster. Okay, we take our knitting needle to the outside left, bring that yarn over to the right. We go to the outside of the right yarn, underneath it, and that yarn is carried through our thumb loop, and then we just cinch it up into the next stitch. Now let's go a little bit more in real time. We go around to the left, around to the right, through that thumb loop, tighten everything up, and there is stitch 5. Around to the left and around to the right, scoop it up, and there is stitch 6. And you'll just continue casting on for the desired number of stitches. Which brings us to action item of the day. Cast on 20 stitches onto your knitting needle. Tomorrow, day 7, we will begin knitting our first row of the knit stitch. And then check off cast on yarn in your knitting series planner. Casting on really is one of the most challenging parts of learning how to knit. So if you find yourself getting frustrated or confused, just take a break, come back to it again, because once you conquer this, everything is easy going. And if you still need to complete your knitting tools haul, I do have a link in the description below on where you can purchase some inexpensive knitting tools online. So, how'd it go, guys? Are you all cast on? Is it perfect and lovely and ready for you to take pictures and share on social media? I hope so. If not, that's fine. Just put it down, take a breath, and when you're in the mood, you can try it again. I know from personal experience, casting on was pretty much one of the most challenging things for me when I started knitting. And even as the weeks went on of doing new knitting projects, sometimes when it was that casting on point, I'd just sort of like, I'd have to go back and I'd have to watch somebody do it. So that's very, very normal. At least it was for me. So anyway, if you have conquered casting on, or if you haven't, let me know down in the comments below how it's going for you guys. I hope that these videos are really helpful to you. And guess what? Once you have everything cast on your needle, we are going to actually knit. Finally we're gonna knit. Okay, you ready? See you next time, guys. Bye.